Well, another day, another church. This interesting little church over here is called the Church of St. Peter, and it's actually in a town called Komenda, which is way over there. Now, of course, when you're shooting churches against mountain backdrops, you don't want to actually go to the town where the church is. You need to be somewhere far away. And that's where I am. I'm just outside of a little town called Vodice. There's a main road down there. And I'm just turned off and come up this little gravel track. And from this viewpoint here, you can actually get an elevated view. You can actually get the whole of the church itself. Now, this church is really interesting because it's quite a tall church, and the section down below is actually a museum as well. So it's a church with a museum. And of course, the mountains behind are the Kamnik Alps. Now, today it's really beautiful because, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, after the rain is always the best. Last night it was pouring with rain, and this morning it was raining, and of course it's dumped some fresh snow on the mountains too, and now we've got some great clouds and we've got some great light. The only downside, unfortunately, is that it's quite windy today, and in this elevated viewpoint we're quite exposed, so you know, it's not super strong. But when you're using a telephoto lens, then when that lens is extended out like the one I've got, quite a long one, it's an L series 100 to 400, and when you're extended out quite far, then it becomes quite sensitive to even the slightest little bit of wind. So that gives you a problem when you're trying to do long exposures. In fact, you can't do long exposures when there's wind like this. So in this case, I'm out now, it's a good hour or so before sunset, so there's still good strong light at the moment. But the problem is, you know, I need to get a faster shutter speed in order to overcome the camera shake, to freeze the image. So I've had to ramp up my ISO to 500 because I've got a polarizer on there as well. I've got the case magnetic polarizer that comes with the K9 holder, and because you've got a polarizer in there, you lose like 1 to 2 stops as it is. So I've had to ramp my ISO up to 500, and I'm on f11 now, and I'm getting around 1/200th of a second, between 160 to 1/200th of a second, and I'm hoping that's fast enough to freeze any vibration from the wind. But that's the downside. So I'm probably not going to stay here for sunset, because if this wind keeps up, then you know, it's going to be pointless. But there are two viewpoints. This viewpoint here is a little bit more elevated, so you see a bit more of the church itself against the mountain backdrop. And if you go further down towards the main road, you get another kind of viewpoint that's a little bit lower. Possibly it's a bit more sheltered from the wind. I doubt it, but we'll see. So I'm going to shoot a few from here first, and then I'll go down to the roadside and see what it's like there. I've got a great composition. I'll show you in the picture in a minute. I've got the church itself down here, and I've got a nice row of trees. I've got the green and the brown there, the mud and the green from the grass that's there, so it's giving some nice leading lines there. And then I've got these nice brown hills with the snow-capped mountains just above it. So just trying to wait for a bit more interesting light to fall. There's some nice light falling down on the church and the foreground, but I'm just waiting for a bit more interesting light to fall upon the mountains themselves. Even for the perfect conditions and the perfect light falling in all of the right places. Ideally, I want light on the foreground, the church, and on the mountain peaks. Light's starting to break through a cloud now, so. Nice light on the church, on those brown hills, and even a bit on the mountain peaks, but now the foreground is in shadow. Just want some light on the foreground, that's all. Everything else is taking shape. just want to try and get one shot, ideally with some good light on all, including the foreground, and then I'll move down to the roadside. The sun has gone behind a cloud over there, but it's going to move. Hopefully once it comes out from underneath it, it will light that foreground as well. And the battery's flashing red. Now, one of the things I learned the hard way is that when this happens and you're waiting for the right moment, change your battery. There may be still some life left in this battery, but I guarantee you if you don't change the battery, when the moment happens your battery will die. Now once it's flashing red, change it, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Hey presto, the light's falling on the foreground. The clouds have cleared over the mountains too, so fingers crossed everything's falling into place. Just need some light on the church. Sun's coming out from underneath that cloud now. There's no light on the church. Mother Nature loves to tease. Come on, come on. Come on, there we go. There we go. You just do with a touch of light on the mountain peaks, but still got a nice shot. Getting a bit of light falling on the mountain tops now too. Okay, so got a good shot now. Everything fell into place. Wasn't quite 100% what I'd hoped for, but it was a good shot nonetheless. So now I'll head down to the roadside and we'll see what the viewpoint from there gives us. Well, as you can see, a different perspective here, lower down, and because we're lower down you can also see that the bottom half of the church is cut off. But because it's quite a tall church, it's still quite interesting even from this perspective. Now of course the downside here is that you're right by the main road, and a lot of lorries and vans come this way, so even when you've got this composition, you know, you're going to get the lorries or vans, if they're passing, they're going to fall into your composition, so you always have to try to time it. And if you come here during the week, of course, and it's really busy, it can be quite difficult actually. Now, it's cleared nicely over the mountain, so I'm going to try to get one good shot from here. The wind's died a bit, but still it's quite windy, and I think it won't be good for sunset. Now, different times of the year, there's some nice, usually some wheat growing in these fields, which really add to the composition too. Now, it's good for a dawn shot too, and sunrise, because the sun comes up from over there. And this church is lit, so it makes a good sunrise shot, and also a dusk or dawn shot as well. I'll show you some pictures now I've taken from previous shoots. a little volcanic peak, shaped peak there. I believe it's called Oystrica. It's really starting to catch some light now. But once again, I want some light on the church as well. Always the same. When you have so many different elements in your picture, nothing ever works in unison. Just when I had that beautiful light on that peak of Oystrica and some nice light on the land, I had no light on the church. Now I'm getting light on the church, the light on the peak is gone. Ah, it's back. A touch of light still on the peak. And now it's gone. I've got a good one. Now, a great way of knowing the peaks that you're looking at is to use an app called Peak Finder. Okay? Now what you do is you open this app and you point it in the direction of the mountains, and it will show you all of those mountains, all of the peaks, and even the heights. Okay? I'll show you now. It's about 15 minutes from sunset now. I'm not going to bother going anywhere else. I'll just stick it out. The wind does seem to have died down a bit, so maybe I can get something good, a nice sunset shot. It's cleared nicely over the mountains, and that cloud behind is really adding some contrast and bringing out the definition of the mountains now. Amazing how the light can change in just a short time. And we get some colour in the clouds. The cloud has got thick behind the mountains and cleared right over the mountains, so the white of the mountains is now contrasting with the dark clouds behind. And the sun's going down behind some hills there, so I think we're going to lose the light on the church. I don't think those clouds are going to catch some colour because it's quite dark. They're quite dark, thick clouds. So there are some subtle colours in the clouds, which is nice. But I think I got a good shot just before the sun was lost on the church itself. That's a keeper. I'll put that one up there now. Well, I think that's about it. Sun's gone down behind the hills there, and probably some chance to catch some colour there, but it's late. Got to get the boy back. It's one of the things, downsides of shooting with kids, but I got some good moments. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video on the churches and the mountains of Slovenia. And if you liked it, please give me a like, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd be grateful if you subscribe, and catch you later.